In Module A2, Objective 11, we're going to look at different types of glands in the body. And the first grouping we're going to look at are the exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. These are glands in the skin that release their product release products associated with the integument. Okay, we have sebaceous glands. We already mentioned sebaceous glands. These are oil glands, and the type of secretion that these glands undergo is called holocrine secretion. Holocrine refers to a type of exocrine secretion in which the cell becomes swollen with vesicles and it ruptures. So here we have some cells, straw nucleus, and these cells become swollen with vesicles. Vesicles of this oily secretion. And eventually they become so swollen that these cells rupture and the product is actually released. So these are sebaceous glands. The other types of glands are sweat glands. And we have two types of sweat glands. We have the apocrine glands and the merocrine glands. Many older texts often use the word eocrine. I'd like to include it just so that you know if you were to come across that word, you can try to place it. And sweat glands produce watery secretions. Types of sebaceous glands, we have two major groupings. We have those associated with hair follicles, and we have those which discharge directly onto the surface of the skin. Let me jump forward one slide. Here we have the two types of sebaceous glands. This is the sebaceous gland associated with the hair follicle. You see that the gland actually opens up into the follicle as it exits the epidermis. And over here we have just a sebaceous follicle that simply releases its products onto the surface of the skin. And sebaceous glands secrete a very lipid-rich substance that is called sebum. And sebum again serves to lubricate and protect the epidermis, and it has properties that actually inhibit bacterial growth. The apocrine sweat glands, these glands are found in the armpits, around the nipples, and in the groin region. And they secrete their products into hair follicles. When this product is broken down by bacteria, it actually can create an odor. It's actually the bacterial byproducts that create the odor, and we can attribute apocrine sweat to body odor, or BO. So as the apocrine sweat glands release their sweat, which is kind of a milky substance, it serves as a food for many bacteria, which then metabolize that product and release gases and other odors that we associate with body odor. Okay. Apocrine sweat glands can be released in response to hormonal cues or nervous signals. I'm sure we've all experienced sweating due to some type of nervous event in our life, and we can again trace this back to the apocrine sweat glands. Here's a histological prep and a diagram of the apocrine sweat. I really do not expect you to identify the type of sweat gland from a slide, but again, this just shows how the apocrine sweat gland is associated with the hair follicle itself. And then we have the merocrine sweat. These particular glands are distributed throughout the body, but they're especially found on the palms and the soles. They discharge their secretion directly onto the surface of the skin, and this is referred to as sensible perspiration. Sensible perspiration. The product of the sweat gland is largely water. In fact, I would venture to say it's 99% water. But you always have a few other substances in there. We have salts and some organic compounds, amino acids, things of that nature. The function of merocrine sweat is to cool the skin. We use this in thermal regulation. When the body becomes too warm, a nervous signal helps trigger the release of this merocrine sweat, which helps to cool down the body. Other functions of the merocrine sweat would be the excrement of water and some electrolytes, and it also helps in flushing microorganisms and other substances from the skin. Here's figure 512b, and again it shows the merocrine type sweat gland. Other integumentary glands closely related to these glands that we've been discussing are the mammary glands and the ceruminous glands. The mammary glands produce milk as their product, and ceruminous glands produce cerumen. This is the technical term for earwax, and the function of cerumen again is to protect the eardrum itself. So not only do we have glands that produce earwax, but we also have hairs within our ear canal, all with the primary purpose or function of keeping the eardrum protected. So what controls these glands? Well, the autonomic nervous system aids in the control of both sebaceous and the apocrine sweat glands. And when the autonomic nervous system signals these glands, the effects control glands all over the body. So we would think of both the sebaceous and the apocrine sweat glands as being global, referring to all over the body. Merocrine sweat glands are controlled locally. Sweating can occur locally. So while the sebaceous and apocrine are global, we would define merocrine as a locally controlled gland. And in terms of functions, I think probably the most important function in terms of maintaining homeostasis would be thermal regulation. Thermal regulation works in conjunction with the cardiovascular system to help regulate body temperature.